guys, this is our video for area of circles. So we've learned about circumference of a circle. Remember, circumference is just a fancy word for perimeter. It's the distance around a circle. And we've done the distance around a semicircle and a quadrant. And now we're going to move to area. So first of all, what is area? Well, area is simply how many squares can fit inside a two-dimensional
Attention all staff, I believe it might be 3 o'clock somewhere, so if you are still with
a two-dimensional shape. Okay, so when we're talking about area, I'm going to draw a little circle up here. So I'm going to draw a circle. We're talking about how many little squares can fill up a circle. And the size of the squares depends on whatever unit we're using. So they could be little inch squares or big feet squares, but that's what area is. It's how many little squares fit inside a two-dimensional shape. So how do we label area? Well, we label it units squared. And that's why, because we're talking about how many little squares fit in a two-dimensional shape. So we learned the circumference formula is pi times diameter. Area, of course, has its own separate formula. So we're going to say A for area equals pi r squared. Pi times radius squared. So there's a little saying that I came across a couple years ago that can help you remember what the two formulas are, which goes with what. So the saying goes, cherry pie, delicious, apple pies are too. And this is how it works. Ready? Cherry pie, delicious, apple pies are too. See how it works to make our formulas? Cherry pie, delicious, apple pies are too. And that's how I oftentimes now refer to those two formulas so that I keep them straight in my head. So hopefully maybe that saying will work for a few of you too. So let's practice using our area formula. So we have a circle here. I'm going to first write A equals pi r squared. And unless it tells me different, I'm going to use 3.14. So when I say A equals pi, I'm going to say 3.14 times the radius. Okay, what is this right here? Is this the radius? No, that's the diameter. Remember, radius is halfway across. That's terrible, little bracket there. So from here to here would only be 9. So I'm going to say times 9 squared. Okay, now your calculators are super smart calculators, so you could actually put all of that in. And there actually is a exponent key on your calculator. So looking at my version of the calculator, the exponent key is right here. Okay, so I would say 3.14 times 9. Oh, here's my squared key. That's even better. The x with the little 2. So x squared would simply go like that. And I'll hit enter, and it will give you my answer, 254 and 34 hundredths. 254 and 34 hundredths. Labeled it inches squared. So again, on your calculator, the square button is the x with the little 2. See if you can find it on your calculator if it's different, but x squared. This one above it, you can use any exponent. So let's say you had 2 to the 5th power. I could say 2 to the 5th power, and it would give me my answer there. But since we're just using squared for area, we can always just use this x squared button. All right, so let's try another one. Here's my circle. I'm finding the area. Area equals pi r squared. Okay, pi I'm going to replace with 3.14 times the radius. Radius is halfway across my circle, and that's been given to me. So I'm going to say 5 squared. And sometimes you can just do the squared part in your head. Remember, 5 squared just means 5 times 5. So I could do 3.14 times, I know 5 squared is 25. And just type in the 25, that would work also. So I get 78.5. Label it feet squared. So all the way across my problem, I actually keep seeing that squared. It's in my formula, it's when I substitute in my number, and it's at the end of my unit also. Right, let's try working backwards one time. So it says the area of the circle is 706.5 centimeters squared. I forgot to put what we're looking for. Let's look for the radius. So I'm going to put R equals question mark. That's what we're going to figure out. Right, so I'm going to start with my formula. A equals pi R squared. And I'm going to fill in what I know. I know my area this time, so I'm going to fill it in. It's 706.5 equals pi is a constant. It never changes, so we're going to put 3.14 times, oh, I don't know my radius, but I know it's squared. So I want to get the 3.14 away from the radius squared. So I know that I'm going to drop my line, and I know I need to divide by 3.14. That's what we're going to do. We're going to divide by 3.14. And when I do that, I'm going to get R squared on this side. And let's see, 706.5 divided by 3.14. I'm going to get 225. Now, that's my radius squared. I want just my radius. So some of you have actually asked me about this button on my calculator. So right above the x squared button, you see this, it looks like a check mark with an extension to it. That's called what we call the square root button. So a square root is the opposite of squaring. So squaring is saying something like 6 times 6 equals 36. A square root is undoing that. So if I give you 36, you have to tell me what number you can multiply by itself to give you 36. Oh, that's 6. So lucky for you, you have a square root button on your key. And to access that, since it's above in the yellow, I have to hit second and then the x squared button, and it'll come up right here. Okay, so I'm going to say the square root of 225. I'll close my parentheses. I'm not sure if you need to. And I hit enter, and then I find out, and how I show that like this is like this. I'm going to take the square root of 225, both sides. So I find out the radius is 15. So that was a fun one to try, and we're going to try a couple more when I see you again. But I wanted you to see it because you can do that. So square root button is something new on your calculator you found. All right, we have a couple more, and these are given to us in story problems, and I always think it's a really good idea to draw a picture when I have a story problem, or actually it's just written in words. So it says, find the area of a semicircle given the diameter is 14 feet. All right, so now we're talking about a semicircle, half of a circle. And I know the diameter is 14 feet. So remember, diameter is all the way across. So I know the diameter is 14 feet. Okay, so let's try it. Area equals pi r squared, except this is a semicircle. So just like with circumference, I'm going to want to divide it by 2 because it's half of a circle. So I'm going to divide by 2. So let's substitute in our numbers. I have 3.14 times the radius. Well, I know the diameter is 14. And I know radius is half of the diameter. So half of 14 is 7 squared divided by 2. And you can put all of this into your calculator at one time. So I have 3.14 times the radius squared, so 7 squared, divided by 2. Your calculators are smart and they use order of operations for you. So I find out my answer would be 76 and 93 hundredths. Let's look at the label. It was feet squared. Find the area of the quadrant given the radius is 3 meters. So let's draw a quadrant. Here's my quadrant. I know the radius is 3 meters. So I'm going to say 3 meters. So remember, if it was a full circle, it would look like this. So we're talking only about a fourth of the circle here. So I'm going to say pi r squared divided by 4, because there's 4 quadrants in a full circle. So let's fill in what we know. I know pi is 3.14 times the radius, and that's been given to me, so I'm going to say 3 squared divided by 4. All right, let's plug it in. So I have 3.14 times 3 squared. I know that's 9, so I'm just going to put 9 divided by 4. I get 7 and 65 thousandths. And I'm never going to round unless it says in the directions to round. Meters squared. All right, there's 2 more. Find the area of the quadrant given the diameter is 42 inches. So it's another quadrant picture. So I'm going to draw a full circle here. And I'm just going to split it into 4. Sometimes I think it's easier to draw the full thing. And then I'm just going to shade in this one because it's telling me I'm talking about that one quadrant. Now here it says the diameter is 42 inches. That means all the way across is 42 inches. All right, so let's write our formula. Pi r squared, it's a quadrant, so I'm going to divide by 4. Fill in what I know. I don't know the area, but I know pi is 3.14 times the radius. Well, I've been given the diameter, and I know radius is half of the diameter. So I'm going to say 42 divided by 2. It's going to give me 21 squared divided by 4. Oh, this I feel like it's going to be a pretty big number. 3.14 times, I don't know what 21 squared is, so I'm going to put it in like that, 21 squared divided by 4. Woo, that is a big number. So we have 346 and 185 thousandths, and my label was inches squared because it's talking about area. All right, last one. Find the area of the shaded region. Okay, this one's kind of tricky. I put this one on here just to challenge us because I think we could do it. So it says find the area of the shaded region. So just the ring that's there. That's the only area I want to find. So what we have to do is we have to imagine it kind of like the inside of an Oreo cookie. If I pull open an Oreo cookie, I have the black cookie with the white cream filling on the top. And that's kind of what this would look like if I were to open up the Oreo. I want to find the area of just that black edge of the cookie. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do here is I have to find the area of the cookie if there was no frosting. And then I have to subtract the area of the frosting. So I have to find 2 areas and then subtract them. It's a 3-step problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is pretend that this cookie is all the way filled in and that it is one giant black circle. So I'm going to say area equals pi r squared. I always start with my formula. I don't know the area, but I know pi is 3.14 times my radius. I don't know my radius, but I do know my diameter is 11. And 11 divided by 2 gives me 5.5, so that would be my radius squared. All right, let's try it. 3.14 times 5.5 squared key. I get 94 and 985 thousandths. And I don't need to give it a label because it's not my final answer. Okay, then I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it with the white cream filling of my Oreo cookie. So I'm going to try it again. I'm going to say area equals pi r squared. Area equals 3.14 times the radius of just that white section. Well, they gave us that. It's right here. It's 4 feet. I'm just going to say 4 squared. All right, let's plug it in. 3.14 times 4 squared. 50 and 24 hundredths. Okay, so now I got one final step. So this is if the whole circle was filled in. This represents just the white circle. So if I subtract the white circle away from the black circle, it's going to give me that ring that is left. So that's what I'm going to do. My black circle was 94 and 985 thousandths minus, now make sure I line up my decimal point, 50 and 24 hundredths. I'm going to add a 0 here so they end in the same spot, and then I'm just going to subtract. And of course you can use your calculator if you want. I'm just going to use my brain. And I come up with the answer of the shaded region is worth 44 and 745 thousandths. Let's look at our label, feet squared. So kind of a challenge problem there for those of you that might be able to challenge yourself. All right, now try your practice problems, and we're going to do a bunch of practice the next time I see you.